Okay, I can solve equations with fractions or decimals by writing an equivalent equation. So that's just a suggestion. You don't have to write an equivalent equation, but I personally like to clear the fractions, and it's a good skill to have for later on. So let's get started with this first one. It also says leave any fractional answers as an improper fraction. All right, so let's see what we have here. So I want to clear these fractions, meaning what is the least common multiple of 6 and 3? So 6 and 3, their least common multiple is actually 6. So I'm going to multiply everything through by 6. Okay. So 6x divided by 6 is just 1x. Probably shouldn't have crossed that out. Sorry, leave that there. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Or you could think of it as 6 times 2 is 12. 12 divided by 3 is 4x. And then over here, I have 6 times 5, which is 30. So this complicated problem just became 5x equals 30. So x is 6. Okay. Next one here. So here, my denominators are 6, 2, and 2. And this is over 1, so there's nothing really to do there. So 6, 2, and 2, their least common multiple is 6. So I have 6 divided by 6 is 1, right? So these will eliminate one another, and I'm left with 1 times 2x minus 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3, so I have to multiply that by 3. Right, and there's a minus there. Over here, I have 6 divided by 2 is 3, so I have to multiply that by 3. And then 6 times 2, negative 2, negative 12. So this very complicated problem just became this. So I have 2x minus 5. So now we go ahead and solve this fairly simple linear equation. And we end up with x equals 7. Okay. All right. Now, here we have decimals. We don't have to clear the decimals, but we can. And since that's what we're working on right now, I think I will. I'm going to multiply these through by, let's see. If I multiply by 10, it'll move it over one place. If I multiply by 100, it'll clear that decimal completely. So I'm going to multiply everything through by 100. Okay, so if I multiply this through by 100, I have 2 zeros, so I'm going to move this 2 places. So this becomes 2. That was a plus, it was just I copied it bad. Multiply this by 100, I move this 2, so it becomes 1, and then it becomes 10. And we're going to multiply 3 by 100. So now I have 10x equals 298. We divide by 10, and I get 298 over 10. You can go ahead and leave it like that, okay? Or you could reduce it if you want, but I'm fine with this. All right. Oh boy, this one has fractions and decimals. So let's be thoughtful here. I think the fractions are the worst, so I'm going to worry about clearing them. I don't really necessarily need to clear this decimal. Oh, you know what I could do is I could rewrite this as a fraction if I wanted to, just to watch this. Negative 1.5 is negative 3/2. Look at that. Now we don't have any decimals. And we can get rid of the fractions by multiplying by 6, right? Least common multiple of 2 and 3 is 6. So if I multiply this by 6, I end up with 3x. Right? 3 goes into 6 2 times. 2 times 4, 8x. 2x times 6 is 12. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. And this just became much easier. Right. subtract 12x. Negative x equals negative 9. So x is 9. Okay. If you had left this as a fraction, it still would have ended, or excuse me, as a decimal, it still would have ended up the same, right? Negative 1.5 times 6 is negative 9. All right, we are done.